Hello and welcome. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We are so excited to have three goals coaches joining us from US Bank to discuss setting goals that are going to prepare us for success beyond our academic programs and careers. We're also extremely proud to be the first university in the country to partner with an organization that offers free goal coaching. So joining us today are Marta, Eddie, and John. And we're going to start off today's event with introductions from our panelists, and then we're going to open it up to questions from our audience. So please feel free to use that chat function to ask any questions. All right, so would each of you please introduce yourselves and share about how your life experiences shaped your why and how you coach or influenced your decision of becoming a goals coach? John, do you want to get us started?
Yeah, I would love to. Again, first of all, thank you everybody for joining us today. And again, UNLV's Graduate College for allowing us to be a part of this and this exciting partnership that we've been a part of for the last several months here. So a little bit about myself. I'm originally a kid from Hawaii, so I'm a little island kid that grew up there, spent most of my time there and went away for college to the University of Portland, and then ended up going back. My primary studies were engineering, so it may not seem like it makes sense why I'm here, but really what my heart comes down to was my time in grad school. So like some of you who are going through the process now, I know the pain, I know the stress, but I also know the joy and the rewards that come on the backside of it all, of kind of going through the programs, building that knowledge and contributing to wherever you can. But it was during my grad school is where I discovered that my passion for sharing knowledge was evident, and I started participating in various and volunteering with engineering programs in high schools and really coming into love with education. And it was in that realm that I really found kind of my thing, my why at the end of the day. It's the ability to really help people and students understand where they are today, but the possibilities that are on the other end. One of the stories that I love sharing that kind of really solidifies my why was when I was teaching at a high school. It was a all boys football school, as I like to refer to it as. And for those that have been in Las Vegas for a while, it's essentially like the Bishop Gorman of Hawaii. And so with that, most of my students, I had my fair share of students that were told their whole lives that like, hey, you're just going to play football because you're big, you're fast, and you're strong. And that's what they believed, and that's what they felt. But as someone that was teaching engineering, I wanted them to understand there was more to it. And so some of them ended up in my class initially because they thought it was the easy way out. They were just going to play with robots and find their way to the other side. And to their surprise, they ended up with a real engineering class where they were forced to do math and science. But the thing at the end was that there was one student in particular that I had a conversation with, and he was one of those kids that were told, you're just going to play football. Don't worry about anything else. Just do enough to pass. And through our conversations and through my time there, I helped him to realize that there's more to it and there's something else on the other side. And that really, really solidifies it for me. It's when you see people have that spark or individuals where they're like, oh, the limitations I've put on me or others have put on me throughout my life doesn't define who I will be one day. And there's other things to it. And so from teaching in high school, I've taught at the college level, which eventually brought me here to Las Vegas. And where I now get to be a coach and help people really do that every day to examine their life and break down some of those mental walls that they have and really open up to those paths and really find a way forward. And so that's a little bit about my past. Marta, would you love sharing a little bit about yourself?
Yes, definitely. Thank you for that, John. So my name is Marta Dipczynska, and I'm also one of the 7 goal coaches here within US Bank. And a little bit about myself is that I moved to Vegas 3 years ago from Chicago. I received my bachelor's in criminal justice, minoring in psychology. And so growing up in Chicago, I was able to experience a lot of diversity and understand how our environments, as well as those around us, have a very big impact on our future. And so after graduating with my degree, I started my work experience first as a rehabilitation counselor and later as a higher education enrollment advisor. And in both of these roles, I was able to assist people that are either dealing with challenges, obstacles within their life, and helping them overcome those obstacles, as well as assisting and guiding those that already have an idea of their goals, but just needed some guidance in achieving their end goal. And by growing up in Chicago, I was able to work with all kinds of people, and it has shaped me into an understanding and passionate coach. And as a goals coach, I also learn from people. So for me, it's not only a one-way street. I definitely learn from others as well. And so it's amazing to see people get from point A to B and being able to support them along the way. And Eddie?
Thank you, Marta. And just like John and Marta, we all have our own little story to share. So I am not the exception. So I was born and raised in the island of Puerto Rico. So if you notice an accent, that's where it's from. I'm still working on it, by the way. But came to the United States several years ago, and I started my career in banking with Bank of America in Los Angeles, and then I transitioned to Citicorp and Citibank. Travel over the United States, San Francisco, New York, and I ended up coming to Las Vegas in 1989 just to do a project. And that was then and never left. So I've been in Las Vegas since 1989. I finished my undergrad degree in business administration with Cal State University in Northridge, California. And then I joined Citibank here in Las Vegas. And from there, I transitioned to the hospitality industry. I opened Bellagio in 98 in human resources. Then I went to MGM Resource International as the director of HR. And then from there, I went to Four Seasons Hotel, also as the director of HR in 2014. Actually, backtrack a little bit. In 2009, a professor at UNLV invited me to speak in one of the classes in the hotel college. And so I've been a friend of the university since 2009, and I'm still a guest speaker, except now that COVID kind of kicked me out of the classroom as well. That stopped for the moment. But something very significant happened in 2009 that led me to get to do the work that I did today. And I met this young lady. She was in the classroom when I was doing the presentation. And after the class, she said to me, may I speak with you? I said, sure. So we went into the courtyard at UNLV. And she said to me, I came here today because I wanted to withdraw from this class. I said, but you did a little segment there in your presentation about the power of who we are. And I don't feel that way. And as a matter of fact, I just was going to leave the university completely. Well, fast forward, she decided to stay after I became her mentor and coach. And she finished her undergrad. She completed her master's degree, and she actually pursued her PhD in psychology. She also became a counselor for young girls that are attempting suicide. And so she opened a suicide prevention center and back east, got married, had a child. And so that for me was the turning point, understanding that we never understand the power that we have to make a difference in people's lives. And I said, I will do that for the rest of my life. So that was the turning point. And then from Four Seasons Hotel, I decided to become an executive coach. So I've been doing executive coaching now since 2014. And through that program that I was running on my own, I had the opportunity to meet several people at US Bank. One of the senior vice presidents reached out to me, just like he did with John, and said to us, hey, how would you like to be part of this program? We have this new program that we're going to implement at US Bank. I'd really would like for you guys to be part of it. And so here we are. And so we are super excited that we're here, and I can't wait to tell you a little bit more about the program and the work that we get to do every day, and that we hope that each and every one of you consider the opportunity to experience a goals session with us. Navina?
Thank you all so much for sharing your stories with us. So to get us started with some questions, can you all tell us, how do each of you think about goal setting? Do you have a philosophy about doing it effectively?
Yeah, I can definitely go first. So when I think about goal setting, I always say to have a realistic action plan, right? And So that allows you to visualize your target, which is your goal, and to begin preparing and taking those steps on achieving that goal. I think it's also important to reward yourself along the way. And so, for example, every 300 that you pay off on your debt that you may have, order some takeout, or invite some friends over for dinner. I also believe that it's important to write your goals down so that way you can see them, whether it's on a sticky note, whether it's on your fridge or a vision board that you have created. I believe that the power in visualizing and seeing what you're wanting to accomplish is very powerful, especially when keeping yourself determined for that goal.
Yeah, I love that, Marla. I really love the part about the vision board, right? Because I think for me, when it comes to goals, it's really about that North Star. And that's really um, my big thing these days about is that we all have a goal that really sits there and kind of sometimes it's far out, sometimes it's a little bit closer, but it really at the end of the day, it's about knowing that future that you want, right? That change or that lifestyle or just a happiness or a joy that you're looking for or a purpose for some. And it's that North Star. And so I always believe that goals start there. It starts far out. Maybe it's my engineering background where I'm like, what's the end goal and let's work our way backwards. But it's that big why at the end of the day of what we're doing. And then from there, to be effective about it, it's then setting more manageable and smaller goals to kind of working your way back to today, right? Sometimes it's not about what's the next big step we can take, but really what's that next small step we can take, right? If it's finding that dream job, maybe it's about taking a class. And the small step might not even be taking the class. It might just be signing up for a class that kind of gets you along that path. Because once the ball starts rolling, as we start chasing these goals, just like Marta said, you find those rewards, whether they're tangible things or emotional things, it gets you motivated, it gets you moving. And then it kind of just snowballs its way forward and allows you to really keep your eye on that North Star at the end of the day, because life happens at the same time. I think we're in this pandemic and we're all going through it. And I'm sure we all knew what our passions were and we all were shaking a little bit over the last year. And so having that North Star then they also allows us to realign ourselves. Is that when life takes us off path, some things happen, some things are in our control and some things aren't, but it's about then getting us back aligned and kind of going forward. Eddie, before I cut you off.
Thanks, John. No, thank you. And for me, it's like that moment of discovery, that moment that there's something in your heart that is just bigger than everything else. And sometimes it starts with a simple dream or you're somewhere and you see somebody doing a certain job or you see an organization, you say, God, I really would like to be part of that. And the reason I say that, sometimes it's just a small thoughts and ideas that come to your mind. When your mind envisions the destination, what we do is we help you create the path to get you there. Because I remember, that's what happened with me. I sat at the university in the courtyard 15 years ago, and I said, one of these days I'm going to be part of this university. And shortly thereafter, I got to receive an email from that professor that asked me to speak in her class, and then the rest is history. And so sometimes you start with like small goals, like tiny goals, and then for some reason when you accomplish that, something happens. But you need an accountability partner. You need someone that keeps you going, that keeps you on track. And that is the beauty of this program, what we get to do, that when your mind envisions the destination, your heart will really design the path to get there. And here with the program, that's what we get to do. So when you think of goals, think of the things that you've been dreaming about for a long time, or perhaps more recently, thinking about that, all of you that are on this call today, that you're about to graduate. I had the opportunity to meet a student earlier, Anna, who's on the call today, and she's about to finish her PhD. She's doing her dissertation, right? And so it's like, what's next? So that's a dream. That's a goal. What am I going to do next, right? Should I go to work, or should I go ahead and teach? Or you might be sitting there thinking, I've been working with this company for a long time, and I just want to do something different and exciting, or I want to go ahead and grow up in this organization. And what do I need to do to continue on that track? Or perhaps you're thinking, you know what, now that eventually this pandemic will go away and I want to start my own business. I've been dreaming about since for a long, long time. or I want to write a book, whatever the case may be, or you just want to be a millionaire, right? I mean, dreams come in different sizes, and we're all different people with different backgrounds. But the best part of that is like when you find a group of individuals, an organization that partners with you and says, hey, you know what, we get you. Those are my dreams too. And, let's put a plan together. Then those become a reality. So dreams do come true, because I remember when I was 7 years old, I always dreamt to be speaking in front of people, and look where I'm sitting right now. So, things do happen when you let that dream become a reality, and you find yourself individuals that can be there to support you and guide you. Because family and friends are great, by the way. But I don't know. Sometimes, even though their heart's in a good place, you might need a third party that will hold you accountable. Never let somebody help you on a goal that is going to help you cheat on your diet. I'm telling you, it doesn't work. Never.
Thank you. So, John, can you please provide us with an overview of what goals coaching at US Bank is?
Yeah, absolutely. Our goals coaching program really is centered around you. It's not about, we're going to come here, I'll be honest, right? We do work for a bank. It's called US Bank. But we really do care about you. It's so many more levels. The goals in which we talk about are often things like, sometimes they are things, I think, like Marta had mentioned, paying off debt, managing your finances, but a lot of times it's those bigger things. It's about, planning to start a family. It's about leaving a legacy far beyond our own lives, or it's about, just chasing after our passions in life. Some people, it's photography and art, and it's a bunch of different things. But really, what it starts with is what we call our goals discovery. That's where all of our coaching begins, because we want to know what your why is. And as coaches, that's our job. Our job is to ask the questions and walk alongside you to allow you to think and dream on things that, like Eddie had mentioned, maybe your family may not think are in your best interests, but really, realistically, they are, right? If they're your dreams and they're your passions, they are in your best interest. And trying to navigate through them and shape them and really getting to that why. That's really what our whole first conversation, it comes down to. We have some technical things that go along with it in terms of writing down your goals and setting dates and doing what we call SMART goal things. But it's really, at the end of the day, it's understanding your why. And then from there, it's about setting the plan, right? Then once you kind of have your goal, then you have to have that plan, because if it's not a plan, then it's just a dream and a wish, and you're not going anywhere. And so then we partner together to set up that plan. And the biggest thing, and something that's very different than you find out in other places, then it's about being that partner, being that accountability partner to walk alongside you throughout your journey. For some people, that journey might be 6 weeks, and they're there and they're ready to move to the next thing. For some people, it's a lot longer journey. It goes, it takes time, because the truth is, bigger those goals, a little bit longer it takes. But we're here to be along with that ride and that journey with you guys.
Marta, maybe if you wanted to go a little deeper in what a goals discovery session entails, and is it different for all of us, or is it kind of a generic format? Maybe you can go a little deeper into that.
Yep. Great question. So each conversation is definitely personalized and different from person to person. There is no script that we follow or boxes that we have to check off in order to complete a goals discovery session. And as John mentioned, and as that, we'll probably continue to mention throughout this, presentation, is that as coaches, it's important to understand the why behind each of the goals, right? Why is it important for you to build your career? Why is it important for you to leave this legacy? Why is it important to pay off your debt? And so on the surface, it may seem like an obvious general answer, but everyone's why and purpose behind wanting to achieve a goal is different. And so a goals discovery is just that. It's a confidential conversation with a goal coach where you can be honest about your life, your future, your fears, what makes you happy, what makes you sad, so that way we can understand the real you and how to continue supporting you on your journey in achieving those goals. So, in summary, it's just a conversation that you have for us to build that relationship and assist you along the way.
Thank you. So our next question is, how many goals discovery sessions can we book with a goals coach?
Yes, another great question. So, with this is, honestly, you can book one session and be done, or you can book as many as you need while you're working towards your goals. If after your first session you feel that you have a better understanding of yourself and your goals, then that's perfectly fine. You're not obligated to have to meet with a coach more than once. However, if you feel that you would like someone to keep you accountable throughout your goals journey, then you can set up sessions as you feel needed with your goal coach.
Thank you. So we just got a question in the chat. I'm going to read it. It says, I am a non-traditional student with 20 years of work experience. I'm done climbing the corporate ladder and now focusing on finding the intersection of what I am good at, my skill set, and what I actually enjoy. However, the problem is that finding that intersection is easier said than done. For example, I enjoy teaching others to pass on my knowledge to see how others benefit from what I teach them. At the same time, I have very little patience, and when you are teaching, you will undoubtedly get into situations where it really tests your patience. So, how do you resolve these issues in your goal discovery process? Who wants to start us off on that one?
I love that scenario because it's almost like I'm reading my own. I'm a non-traditional student also. And one of the things that is great about the program, about the process, is just when you have this confidential conversation and we begin to uncover some of the things that you're talking about, always look at the root causes, some of the things of the way you feel about them. Sometimes in there, hidden in all of that, those feelings, those emotions, the tiredness, the bitterness, the anger, frustration, all those emotions that we all experience, somewhere in there is the truth about who you really are. And then you begin to discover. And so those things that are significant to you, that are impactful to you, and then you realize that there's so much more about you and the learning and the experience that you bring, right? That once we bring that to the surface, you realize that there's more to you than your story. Sometimes what happens, and I'm guilty of that, by the way, I get stuck in my story sometimes. We all get stuck in our story and I realize that it's like the hamster in that wheel, right? We just go, but we're not going anywhere because we just got so focused on that we don't realize that if you stop, begin to discover and uncover all the things and the potential that exists, that you have to be greater than the circumstances and follow the potential that you have to achieve great things. But sometimes you need a partner. Sometimes you need someone that can ask those questions, go a little bit deeper, and begin to uncover the potential that exists, that is already there, especially if you have all that experience. I would love that opportunity for one of us to sit down with you and begin to uncover some of those things, because you'll be surprised. You'll be very surprised and very pleased with the results that you receive. Because, by the way, the answers are all in you. All we're going to do is work with you to bring up some of that knowledge, skills, and talents that are hidden right now. I hope that answered that question.
Thanks, Eddie. Anyone else want to add?
Yeah, I just want to add a little bit of something to that. Like, I think part of that discovery on the other end, as a coach, is that we get to be mirrors sometimes. And really like Eddie, it's that what's on the inside, right? And we're just here to ask the questions. And so I agree. It does take a lot of patience to teach. And I too was not a very patient one when I started, but whenever we're chasing after something we're passionate about, we tend to find out how we surprise ourselves. That the things we thought were challenging, when we're chasing something we love, we find a way to overcome them. We find a way to evolve and to find new levels and new character within ourselves that we didn't know we had. And over time, it happens, and that's what we're here to do, is to have those conversations again, to be that mirror, be like, okay, if this is important, if this is really what you want to do, what are you willing to overcome to become that person? And then ask, and our conversations get tough sometimes. I'm not going to lie to you, but it's because we care about you getting to where you want to be. And otherwise we wouldn't ask those questions. It's because we do care. Thank you.
So our next question here is, how do we go about setting up an appointment, and is there a charge?
Marta, you want to take that one?
Yeah. When setting up an appointment with a goal coach, I believe there are QR codes that you guys are able to scan throughout here. If not, there's also a website which I can put into the chat room, or if someone putting in the usb.com / thanks John. So John will put that in there for you guys. And so when booking a session, there's a description of what our backgrounds are and what we have done in the past. But ultimately we all have the same passion, and that's helping you. And so whatever coach you believe that you're going to connect best with, choose that coach, have that conversation, and there is no charge. So that's $1 million question every time we present, but no, there's no catch. So no charge.
Marta, and just to add on, I went through one of these with Eddie, kind of as a test run, so he can show us what it's all about, and it's pretty amazing. It's not just limited to financial goals; it's about every area of your life. So I know that's also a very common question that we get asked. So just so you know, it's pretty much about any type of goal that you have. They'll walk you through that. All right. Oh, and just to tell everyone, once we go back to the floor, you'll see in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, there's 3 different red boxes. One says John, one says Eddie, one says Marta. If you just click on that box, a QR code is going to pop up, and you can scan it with your phone, and it'll just take you to their page, and you can make an appointment there. Go ahead, John.
I think there's also a link on it as well. I think you had it set up. So if you click on the link, it'll also go straight over. That's a little bit faster. If you're on your phone joining us, that way you can't scan your phone with your phone. But you can just click on the link and then go straight to our appointment.
Yes, good point. All right, back to our question. So our next question is, how do we set a goal? What is the best way to word it? Should we put a timeline on it? John, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, I will. I can definitely start us off. The wording is important because I think it needs to resonate with you a little bit. But something I think I had mentioned a little bit earlier was the idea of SMART goals, and it really comes down to just being specific, measurable, relevant, achievable, and what was the last? Timeliness. Thanks, Eddie. Eddie's always got my back when my mind goes a little blank on me. But really what it is about is that having goals that are written out. First of all, making sure they're written out. That's what it starts with, and having something to look at, refer back to when things get hard, to look back and be like, okay, that's my goal. That's what I'm chasing after. And then the second part is that time piece, making sure that when you are writing down that you have something that an end date. The end date is one of the things I think is most important for these goals, because I don't know about you guys all, I can be a little bit of a procrastinator sometimes. And if a goal if I don't have a date for it, I'll just be like, oh no, this thing is more important, so I'm gonna do this one now, and then, oh, now this is more important, and then all of a sudden these goals that realistically we care about the most get pushed further and further back, and then either never get done, or we wonder why we haven't got them done yet. And to kind of prevent that, we want to make sure that they're top of mind. We want to make sure that like, hey, by the end of this year, I'm going to do X, right? And being very clear about those goals, being very specific is also very important. So those are some of the context in terms of creating and writing your goal. But all part of our conversation, we help you kind of walk through all those pieces, get them together, and kind of really assemble a statement that resonates with you.
If I can add to what Jim just said, thank you, John. That you're right on target. But that little voice inside of us is so powerful. It could be such a great motivator, but it could be such a huge diminisher in the fulfillment of our dreams and our goals. I have a couple of examples to share. I had, this 19-year-old last year, actually in 2019, who came to do a session, and he's a UNLV student. Actually, he graduates in May with his undergrad in marketing. And when we were sitting there having a conversation, what's important to you? What are some of the things when you look at, we have a set of cards that we just to ignite some conversation that we share with a client or the customer. And the first one that he selected was leave a legacy. And, I'm thinking he's 19 years old. He wants to leave a legacy. And traditionally we're thinking that, when you get older, you want to start thinking about a legacy. And I asked him, I said, why did you select that card? And he said, because one day I want to be a father and I want to leave a legacy for my children. And I'm sitting there and I'm just, wow, this is amazing. I said, but additionally, Eddie, I want to create a scholarship for students at UNLV because I know how many of them are struggling financially, because so was I. So you have a 19-year-old having those amazing thoughts at that age. And I know that in our audience today, we have a range of people from different generations. But then at the same time, I had this amazing lady that came to see me. She's 77 years old. And when she sat there, she says, Eddie, I've been wanting for so many years, for 10 years, to write a book. And I said, so why haven't you? Because I'm afraid, that it's not going to be good. People are going to judge me and whatnot. I said, but who are you writing the book for? For you or for others? And she goes, oh, I never thought about it that way. I said, go write the book. And when you write it, think of others. Think about the impact that you will have in somebody else's life. So fast forward, last October, she walked into my office with her first book that she published. She already published her second book and she's working on her third book. So this is what's happening in all of our lives. And Marta and John and myself are there too. We have dreams, we have goals they want to achieve. And sometimes we are the ones who hold back in those fulfillment of those dreams. When you think about New Year's resolutions, how many of you, I'm guilty of that, have declared New Year's resolutions? And I find it fascinating, talking about procrastination, John, that, we wait 12 months of the year. So one night when some of us choose to engage in some festivities, if you know what I mean, and then we make New Year's resolutions that only going to last 2 weeks. And then by February 1st, it's all gone. And so we go back into that cycle of waiting 12 months again. The time to do it is now. The dreams to be fulfilled need to be fulfilled now. Tomorrow is guaranteed to no one. So today, this year, is time for a fresh start, for a new way of thinking. And if anything else, you have nothing to lose and say, I'm going to book a session. I'm going to have a conversation with Marta, John, or Eddie, or any one of the other 4 coaches, and just have a conversation and see where it goes. If you enjoy the conversation and the experience is valuable to you, we'll go on that journey together. And you don't feel that it's for you, that's okay. Because at the end of the day, everything that we do, every intention that Marta, John, and the rest of the other coaches have is in your best interest. How can we help you fulfill your dreams? Because if we can see that you bought that house or that you opened that business, right? Or that you continue your education, or like that 19-year-old who, by the way, just actually established a scholarship 2 days ago at UNLV, that's what really matters to us. Because when we see other people fulfill the dreams, we fulfill our goal and our dream to helping others.
Thank you all. So our next question here is, how do we prepare for setbacks when despite our effort, we are not moving forward or producing results? How do we prepare for setbacks that are not our fault? Who wants to start us off?
I will take that one. So when you're preparing for any kind of setback of any kind, it's definitely easier said than done, but it's simply understanding that obstacles will happen. And so, this is figuratively speaking, but, no matter how much you prepare for that perfect vacation, right? A year in advance, you have your spending money ready, you have your clothes and tickets all ready to go. You cannot prepare for that hurricane that decides to make its arrival on the week of your vacation. And so, when setting any goal, you have to understand that not everything will necessarily happen in a perfect manner and in the exact way that you envisioned it. And so, as long as you stay motivated and the goal remains important to you, you're going to achieve it. You have to stay flexible and accept the good and the bad events that happen in life. And most importantly, do not get stuck in a bad place mentally when a setback occurs. This might seem a bit cliche, but you'll always end up where you're meant to be as long as you put in the effort. So don't stress it. And also remember that sometimes the right path isn't always the easiest one. So keep yourself motivated and understand that life happens, things happen, and nothing's perfect. And keep your eye on the target.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a little bit to that, right? I think at the end of the day, we talk about our first conversation being a goals discovery where we write things down and we put it on paper. But the reality is that it's a living, most of our goals, especially these type of like some of these bigger goals, sometimes I think you're referencing to here is they're living, breathing goals, right? They adjust. You know, we all, no matter what life throws our way, it's about having someone that's able to be there alongside you to correct course. And that's what it is. It's, hey, maybe something happened, the hurricane that ruined the vacation. So maybe we see if we can shift the trip somewhere else, or maybe it's, can we delay things? There are little things that we can do along the way, or just like, hey, what was the purpose of the trip, right? If the purpose of the trip wasn't just going to Tahiti, but it was about having the family together, then does it really matter where we go to be together as a family? And then that's really what it is. It's coming back to that why that we've been talking about throughout our entire conversation here. It's, okay, what was really important about that? And having someone that when we get caught up in the details of making something happen, that can come back on the outside as an accountability partner and being like, hey, let's remember why we're doing this. It's not about the tasks. It's not about a check mark. There's a why to it. And let's always remember that and having that to come back to. And then you make adjustments. You be flexible, you be agile, and then you come back. You either change course or you make a slight correction. You get yourself back onto where you're headed to. That's a little bit about how we kind of deal with those unforeseen things that kind of come along the way. Eddie?
Yeah, thank you, John. And what came to mind as I'm listening to you is like, if we continue doing what you're doing, and you're going to continue getting the results that you're getting, and you're happy with those results, congratulations. You're on the right path, on the right track. But if you continue doing what you're doing, and you continue getting what you're getting, and what you're getting is not getting the results that you want, then it's time to make different choice and begin to look at things from a completely different lens, right? There's a great quote by Dr. Wayne Dyer says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at begin to change. I don't know. I'm just going to suggest that maybe today is that turning point to begin to look at life and living and loving and learning from a completely different lens, right? And take that chance, take that leap of faith and trust in yourself that you can accomplish the things that you've been dreaming about for a long, long time, because the only person holding you back is that person in front of the mirror. And perhaps today is that moment. And every single one of us, our hearts, our souls, everything that we do is linked to the fulfillment of other people's dreams, because that's exactly our goals. This is what we do. I mean, we all have to make choices. And, this is what we chose to do for our careers. And this is what we love. We want for you to do what you love and get to choose that path and that career and that decision about your future that you've been dreaming about for so long, but you're holding yourself back, or maybe somebody's holding you back, because some of the people tend to do that, right? And then you need someone there to be alongside with you to get you to your destination. And one of the things you're going to discover that is powerful, and it just happened yesterday. I had a customer that went through a session, and then she actually turned around and talked to her sister. Her sister did a session today because she realized this is what I need, is what she said. I've been wanting something so bad, but I never stopped to take care of me, to stop and think of me, to have some me time. He goes, I run a small business. And she allocated an hour. And for her to allocate an hour and small business owner, it's a lot, because that's a lot of business. But she said, I got to do this. I can't do this any longer. Single mom with a 9-year-old running a business. And she goes, this is exactly what I've been wanting for a long time. And so that's what we thrive. Are we surviving or are we thriving? We want you to thrive, because we've been a long time in this survival mode because of this COVID, this pandemic. And this will pass. This shall pass. Other things have happened in the past, and you will have to move on, because at the end of the day, our ultimate goal is, can we fulfill our dreams and be happy?
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Eddie. So before I ask our next question, I just want to remind everyone to please use the chat if you have any questions for our coaches, just as a reminder there. So our next question here is, can you please discuss different ways we can keep ourselves motivated when things get mundane or discouraged?
I can start that.
Okay.
I'll start a little bit, instead of Marta having to be on the spot this whole time. It's the little victories. It's about the little things. And Marta hit it off out of the park at the very beginning, right? It's You know, if it's a savings goal, it's making sure that like, hey, have those milestones and reward yourself. Some of the things that we look at is some people talk about tiny goals and tiny habits. I tell some of my clients that want to do things like, hey, I just want to read more. I feel like in order to be a better person, I want to read more. And so I told him like, hey, we're going to start small. We're going to start teeny tiny. So his goal is to read one paragraph every day after he does his morning yoga. That's it. That's the whole goal, and that's the whole habit he's trying to develop. But every day when he's done, I tell him, you got to celebrate. You got to find that moment. You have to trigger those endorphins in your brain and create that response. And it works. And he's been at it for 3 or 4 weeks now. And every day he said he does the same thing. And he doesn't just read a paragraph. He reads 1 or 2 or a few pages. And if the story's going well, it takes a little bit more time. But it's about small victories. It's all about those small, tangible things. And it's having those rewards, being able to tell yourself, yes, you did it, and kind of making sure that you keep seeing those progress going forward.
You know, and share those wins with those around you. I mean, we will celebrate with you. We will celebrate until the sun goes down. Trust me. I mean, we will follow you. We'll have some pictures taken. We do somebody mentioned earlier about a vision board. When we put this summary of your goals together, you get to take that with you. We email that to you. So you get to actually see visually, you get to see exactly everything that we talked about. And so you can just print that and put it in your office and somewhere where you can look at it every day. But the celebration has to come from yourself first. When you get to say to yourself, I achieved this, I did this, I accomplished that. And now I'm going to share that with friends and family. Look at your circle of friends. Look at your circle of influence. Look at your circle of trust. Those are the people around you that are there to lift you up, right? And so celebrate that with them. And trust me, we will celebrate you more than you can possibly imagine, because our joy comes from that, knowing that you achieved that. But I think it's incumbent of each and every one of us to also share with others that we're able to accomplish those things. We've been denying ourselves that for so long. We're hiding, inside our own fear and anxiety and pain and sorrow and all that. And I get that, because every single one of us have experienced that. But I think this is the time that you have to say, you know what? I'm going to pause for a moment and celebrate this moment because I achieved that. I'm going to go back to Anna Reyes, who her earlier say, goes, boy, Ed, it's been a long journey. We're talking to her earlier. And it's like, and here I am. I feel like I've been in school forever, but what a huge accomplishment. So we celebrate with her. She's doing her dissertation. She's going to have her PhD. That's a moment to celebrate. Sometimes it's very simple, yet it be so significant. Celebrations can in different sizes. So celebrate.
Yeah, and then definitely to reiterate what John and Eddie both said, having those milestones and the support system is very important. I'm a little biased when it comes to the paying down debt goal. If you have 5,000 in debt, celebrate every 1,000 that you pay off, right? And have that one person that's there for you that you can celebrate with or even cry with, right? And whether you want to celebrate virtually or go out to ice cream with your mom or best friend, it's important to have those around you that are going to celebrate those achievements with you and even bring you back up when you're discouraged. So definitely milestones and support systems are huge.
Thank you. So we just got a few questions in the chat. The first one being, are coaching sessions in person or virtual?
Well, due to the wonderful pandemic, we are doing most of them virtually, but the branches are open. So if you do prefer, to meet in person, we do have branches that are available to us that are our homes, but to stay, on the safer side of things while the world is still, upside down, you can definitely do it virtually. But if you do prefer to meet in person, we can accommodate that as well.
Thank you. So our next question is, do you make a meeting per goal you have, or can you tackle 2 or 3 goals per session? And is that advisable? Eddie, you want to start us off?
John, go ahead. You're more like that.
No, yeah. We start off with as many goals as you feel comfortable. Our initial conversations usually go somewhere between between 3 to 5 goals is kind of where most people start. I've definitely had clients who've come in with 10, 12 goals, and we've started those conversations. But what you learn is that for most people, I consider myself pretty type A as my personality type, as Eddie there laughs at me about it, because he knows it's true. But some people come in with their goals already thought out. So they have 10 goals, but 3 or 4 goals kind of stacking into each other for one particular bigger goal. So sometimes that's how the conversation goes. And through that conversation, we're like, so maybe we're going to group all of these together. We'll talk about them separately. We'll tackle them at different phases because some people have already thought about that phase. But sometimes people just come in with like, this is where I want to be down the line. I have 2 goals. And then we'll kind of work our way backwards and kind of figure out where it is. And so there isn't necessarily a limit to how many goals we can have. It's not just 1 goal per session, because we can talk about a few things, and often our lives are not just individual boxes, or more like a bowl of spaghetti, where everything is intertwined with one another, and that's how life is. Life is more like a bowl of spaghetti than little compartmentalized boxes, and so we get that, and so we treat our goals as such. Eddie?
Yeah, and then another segment of the journey through the goals discovery process is that then we can just go ahead and start talking about those goals. And sometimes you realize that they're so intertwined that one goal that you were talking about, when we start talking about that second one, that you realize, they're pretty much the same, right? And so we're trying to combine them, and we do that with you. We make some, we'll give you some guidance in that process. And then that's for you to realize if that's the direction you want to go. We're not trying to do in any way, shape, or form trying to divert you from the direction you want to go. But we do provide you some guidance just to give you some clarity to ensure that that's the path that you want to go and that is achievable. And then the second part of that is like you'll get a readiness report in the process that is going to really give you more insight as to each one of the goals, the achievability of the goal, perhaps you need some modifications. And so you get to experience that. A lot of our customers and clients, what they get to experience is like, I didn't think about that. Or here's some of the things that I never take into consideration, but the recommendations that you're providing us are really right on target. And, that's what I needed to do, but I just didn't know what to do with that. And so the discovery is not only what we discover about your goals, it's what you discover about yourself. And that's the best part of this journey. Those aha moments that you go, I didn't think of that. And it was all inside. It's just sometimes you need a little bit of guidance, a little bit of fine tuning just to get you to the next step. And so that's the beauty of the program that we get to do every time with a customer.
Yeah. And it's definitely important for us that you do not become discouraged along the way. So, I don't want to say that the more goals you have, the less likely you are to not achieve them, but it'll most likely cause you a lot more stress, right? Because you're thinking of this goal, that goal, that goal, and then you become so overwhelmed that you may just give up on all of them. So we definitely want to help you tackle the goals that are most important to you. And then as you achieve them, as your goals or life change, you can always modify them, change them. So I definitely just focus on what's most important to you and then work with the coach to modify as life happens.
Thank you so much. So I think we have time for one more question before we go back to the floor. How can we stay focused on one goal for a long time?
I'll start. Those are probably the hardest, right? And in some ways, I think we may have mentioned a few things. We may have alluded to it up to this point, but it's having someone to kind of reflect back with. I think this is where accountability partners are. Someone like a coach is most important. It's staying focused on those long-term goals, and really part of it is breaking it down into something that's more manageable, having some smaller pieces, knowing that, like Marta had said, if your goal is to remove a debt and you know that's going to take some time, okay, what are those smaller chunks, right? Or if it's starting a business, maybe you're not even quite at the I'm going to start a business this year phase, but it's the let me refine my skill set so that when the time comes to start a business, I'm ready to do that, right? Then I have the skills, the knowledge. Some people go back to school and get their MBAs so that they can run their own companies. Maybe that's some of you joining us today, and you know that goes a little bit further out. it kind of goes back to everything we talked about. Set small goals, celebrate the small victories, and having a partner to kind of keep you aligned to where that North Star was, and just have a reminder of, like, hey, we're doing good, we're moving forward, we're keep going, and just having those big pieces they kind of come back to the surface over and over again. But that really is how we help people kind of stay along those lines.
Yeah, and start thinking, what are the distractors? What are some of the things that are getting you off track? And it happens to all of us. We're creatures of habit, right? And it's like we tend to drive the same road every day to go to work. I mean, we go to the same grocery store, we go to the same pharmacy. So we have become pre-programmed in a certain way. But at the same time, when you stay focused, to stay focused on your goal, take a look at the things that are happening in the periphery of your life, right? What are some of the things that in the past held you back, and now they're coming back again, now that you're moving forward to accomplish something? So those are the things that, you just start looking and be very cognizant of those, right? And they say, you know what, I'm not going to let that continue to stop me. I'm not going to let that conversation with that someone. People come into our lives for a season, for a reason, for a lesson and for a learning. Sometimes you have to love people from afar, and that's okay. And you got to remove those situations or circumstances, and sometimes individuals that are holding you back, that they don't feel that you can accomplish certain things. It's not because they don't want you to, or they don't think that you have what it takes. It's because they themselves, they don't believe in themselves enough to know that. And so, sad people like to make people sad. Lonely people like to make people lonely. People that don't like to accomplish it, they don't want other people to achieve things and succeed. And that happens. That's just the reality of the world that we live in and the environment that we're surrounded with. But you're different. This is your goal. This is your future. And sometimes those distractors could be something that you have to be very aware of. And maybe during a conversation, we as coaches can discover some of those things. So let's talk about what's holding you back. Let's talk about what is happening right now that's keeping you losing your focus on that particular goal. And then we begin to unpack that a little bit and see what you can do and some of the actions that you can take to get you back on track and continue further in the fulfillment of your goal.
And then just to also add quickly that, when you're setting goals, it's important to identify whether this goal is a short-term or long-term goal, right? And so that way, the longer it takes for you to achieve that goal, okay, well, this is a goal for me to obtain a degree. It's not going to happen within the next month or two. I know that things are going to happen along the way. I may want to start a family that may, push the degree back a year. But as long as you know that, okay, this goal is a short-term goal, this goal is a long-term goal, you're already mentally prepared for the amount of time that it's going to take to achieve that goal and anything that may happen along the way.
Thank you all so much. So we are past our 5 o'clock mark, and we want to be respectful of everyone's time. So before we wrap up the panel portion of today, we just want to give a huge thank you to Eddie, John, and Marta for sharing their time and such valuable information with us. We are now going to go back to the tables we were at and give you all a chance to visit the tables labeled Eddie, John, or Marta. They are in the top left corner of the floor plan. If you want to join one of their tables and ask them some more specific questions, we can do that. So you can just double click on a seat at the table you want to join, and you'll automatically be taken there. So thank you all so much for joining us today. We hope you found this extremely helpful, and we'll see you at the next one.
Thanks, Ned.